What's up, guys and gals? Week number 12, Carolina Jackpot checking in. The picks and predictions against the spread are here. We're back again with another 40 games to do this week. And let's see what we got going on. Last week, I picked 40 games. I didn't do an update or a recap video, as it were. We were 23, 16, and 1 last week against the spread. 23, 16, and 1. Had a couple of games in there that picked that as upsets that ended up being upsets. If I can go back and look at a few of them, I cannot remember what they were. But you see some of the ones I messed up on right there. I call that the bonehead pick of the week. I picked Tennessee to cover against Mizzou. Dumb. So yeah, 23, 16, and 1, not great, but definitely could have been worse. Let's get into these this week. Oh yeah, Miami Notre Dame last week. I picked Miami in that game, and that was an upset. They did win, covered the spread, and won easily. All right, let's get into this week's games. We got 20 to do here in this section. Tulsa on the road at South Florida. That's the game tonight. South Florida is ranked number 23rd. South Florida is 11th in scoring. Tulsa is 121st in total defense. I think that tells you about all you need to know. Tulsa is 2-8 this year. They did get a win over Houston somehow or another. South Florida's not been as impressive the past few weeks as they had been the rest of the season. Tulane, they struggled against UConn. They didn't cover the spread there, and they lost to Houston, which Tulsa beat inexplicably, but none of that matters. I think South Florida's going to cover the spread, Raymond James Stadium, and head into that matchup next week on Friday night after Thanksgiving with Central Florida at 10-1. Middle Tennessee on the road against Western Kentucky. I was looking at this one, had the history of it. 2 out of the last 3 times these teams have played, 2 out of the last 3 seasons have been multiple overtime games. One of them was a 2 overtime game. One of them, a 3 overtime game. The visitor, it looks like, in this series usually wins. Not this time. Not going to take them. Both teams have the same record. They're identical. I'm going to take Western Kentucky to cover spread and win that game on their home field tomorrow night. They're in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Saturday's games. Let's get these out of the way. There's a ton of noon games this week. Virginia on the road at Miami. Miami's a 19-point favorite. I'm going to pick them to cover the spread here. Virginia, they kind of been up and down this year. They disappointed me last week against Louisville. I thought that they would cover the spread and actually would have a chance to win that game. They actually kind of got blown out by Louisville, especially in the second half. They have impressive wins at Boise State and at home against Georgia Tech. Miami, is kind of stuck in that place where, well, they got their big win. Could there be a letdown here? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're starting to come into their own. I think all year long, with these close wins against, UNC and Florida State, and, it's not very good teams. People thought Miami wasn't very good. I think Miami was just kind of sleepwalking. I think they've kind of woke up the past couple of weeks with a big win against Virginia Tech and even a bigger win last week against Notre Dame, nationally anyway, poll-wise. Last week's was a bigger win. The win against Virginia Tech was a bigger win conference-wise, as they wrapped up the Coastal Division pretty much with that one. I'm going to take Miami to cover the spread in this game, but I don't feel great about it. I think Virginia could still give them some problems. They're not a terrible team. They're 6-4. So they'll make it to some kind of bowl game. So they got that wrapped up, but it would be quite a feather in their cap, quite a hell of a coup to spoil somebody's season. So, yeah, Mark Richt, when he was at Georgia, was known for shitting the bed in big games or in games that weren't big games. It turned out to have a big ending. So I want to apologize to the Miami fan base. I've made a lot of videos on here giving them a hard time. And, it's all kind of in good fun. They kind of got offended by it, and I kind of jumped back at them a little bit. So we had a bit of a rivalry going on. Some of them actually called me on the telephone last Sunday morning. Yeah, I actually called my phone number because I have a phone number from where I do my Carolina Jackpot scratch-off videos, and that number's posted on there for people to text in if they want spots in the group books. And somebody called me, and it was like really inaudible. But like, how about the key? I was like, what? He's like, how the cane? And it dawned on me, he was trying to say, how about them canes? And it was a Jacksonville, Florida area code. And I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. So I blocked his ass so he could come back. But at any rate, yeah, they are looking really good this year. Impressive last week. I picked them to cover the spread at home and win that game, and they did do it. Cincinnati on the road at East Carolina, 3.5-point favorites against ECU. I think Cincinnati is better defensively, and I think they've been more competitive this year than East Carolina has. So I'm going to take them to cover the spread. I think they'll win by more than that 3.5-point margin. Rutgers on the road at Indiana. They're 11-point underdogs to Indiana. Both of them have identical records. Rutgers has covered the spread versus IU in all 3 Big Ten meetings these two have had since 2015 or 2014. Indiana's lost 4 of their last 5. They were playing teams close, and I picked them to play it close last week, and they got blown out against Wisconsin. Both of them have comparable losses to Penn State, comparable wins against Illinois, both about the same amount there. You know, the only difference here is Indiana has a lot better quarterback play than what Rutgers has from what I've seen. They're splitting time between Peyton Ramsey and the other dude whose name I can't remember there. But I think this is going to be a closer ball game than an 11-point margin. I think these teams are too evenly matched. I think Indiana will win because it's a game at them at home. I wouldn't put it past Rutgers to slip up and win this one. But I'm going to take Rutgers to cover the spread, lose by about a touchdown. UCF. Is this a road game against Temple? It may be. I can't even remember this one. UCF's playing Temple. That'll be Saturday. I got to look that one up. I really thought that was UCF was a home game. I may have written that down incorrectly. You know, it happens from time to time. Yeah, it is. UCF is at Temple. They're 14-point underdogs. Temple would like to spoil UCF's season, I'm sure. They're 10-0 right now. Temple's steadily improved this year. But UCF's going to look to make a statement in this game. Their quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, 22 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions all year. Got one of the higher quarterback ratings in FBS. Scott Frost, their coach, done an amazing job there. He won't be there after this year, guaranteed. In 2015, just that recently, UCF was winless. They were 0-12. And this year, they could go undefeated. I mean, how many times have you ever seen that happen before? Look for them to cover the spread here. Temple has been competitive with teams, but I just think that UCF is going to be looking to make too much of a statement here to that playoff committee. They're ranked number 15 right now. Do I think they'll make the 14 playoff? No, they won't, but I think they have a shot. They have a shot on the outside if they win this conference, making a New Year's Six bowl. In fact, I think they may be in the agreement somewhere. They may have to. One of those group of 5 conferences may have to be in there. Not really sure how that works. At any rate, Texas on the road at West Virginia. They are 3.5-point underdogs to the Mountaineers. Mountaineers got the home field advantage here, and it's a big home field advantage. Texas has been okay this year, been improved, but they're inconsistent. I'm sure they thought Tom Herman was going to, do more than what they've done by this point. But now, West Virginia beat an Iowa State team a few weeks ago, which was coming off with a ton of momentum. They beat TCU. They had beat Oklahoma in the past month, and West Virginia handled them at home. Texas has beaten Iowa State this year. However, that wasn't the same Iowa State team that's playing right now. I'm going to look for West Virginia to cover the spread here. I think they'll win this game fairly comfortably, 10 points or so in Morgantown. TCU on the road against Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 6.5-point underdog at home to TCU. TCU still has the best defense in the Big 12 despite last week's game against Oklahoma. Texas Tech, of course, have a prolific offense, but they have a horrible defense. TCU's looking to move back up towards a New Year's Six Bowl or a possible Big 12 championship game appearance. It's not unfathomable. This thing's not, they're not split into divisions. It's just number 1 versus number 2. Texas Tech's lost 4 of their last 5. Which that drought was stopped by a terrible Baylor team. TCU in 2015, 2 years ago, last time played in Lubbock, was ranked number 3. Texas Tech only lost by 3 points in that game, 55-52. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same deal here. I think TCU's defense is too good for that. I think they'll cover the spread there and win this game fairly comfortably. Michigan on the road at Wisconsin. They're 7.5-point underdogs to the Badgers. That will half-point is huge. It's huge. I can't express that enough. Michigan is great defensively. They are great defensively, but they are starting another that freshman quarterback still starting for them. Kent Randall is kind of an intimidating venue, loud. Home team really gets after them. The home team in this series has usually been winning the games. How they played last year, Michigan won 14-7 in the Big House. Prior to that, they hadn't played since 2010. Wisconsin's going to stay undefeated in this game, but barely. I think it will be a touchdown or less, and I think the Wolverines are going to cover here. They're looking to make a move, too. They're looking to make a statement at a New Year's Six Bowl. They got that matchup next week against Ohio State. So look for the Wolverines and them to lock up. And this will be a great game. One's ranked 24th and one's ranked 5th. Mississippi State on the road at Arkansas. Mississippi State is an 11.5-point favorite against Arkansas. Nothing's going to be close about this game. Okay, nothing in the world is going to be close about Mississippi State at Arkansas. They're going to blow them out. Arkansas has 1 win in the SEC this year against Ole Miss, inexplicably. I don't know how they won that game. It doesn't matter if it's in Little Rock or Fayetteville or Start Vegas or wherever. Mississippi State is going to just absolutely beat the snot out of Arkansas. Their coach is gone after this year, and they're just not very good at all in any phase of the game, offensively, defensively. It's really having a bad year at Arkansas. I'm sure that's quite a disappointment for them. Those fans were pretty passionate about that team. I marked this one as one of my lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels picks. Make sure you pick Mississippi State to cover the spread in this one. To me, you'd have to be dumber than a box of hammers not to take the Bulldogs and those points in that game. UL Monroe on the road against Auburn. They're number 6. Auburn is a 36.5-point favorite. UNLM can score a ton of points. They have this year. Auburn's going to be looking ahead, I'm sure, to that Iron Bowl against Alabama. It's going to have the most implications of any Iron Bowl since 2016. So, this one could be hairy for a little bit. I definitely don't think UL Monroe is going to win the game, but I think they're going to cover that 36.5. That's a lot of points. So I think that the Warhawks on the road at Auburn will catch them kind of looking ahead to next week and keep that game close till at least halftime and be able to cover that 36.5-point margin. Pittsburgh on the road at Virginia Tech. This game is normally close. Virginia Tech kind of reeling a little bit. They've lost 2 in a row, 2 road games against Georgia Tech, and then lost, of course, last week to Miami. They're 15.5-point underdogs, or favorites at home, against the Panthers. I'm going to look for Virginia Tech to cover the spread, though, in this game. Pitt is just not very good at all. Pitt lost at home against UNC. UNC, that is bad. That's a bad loss. Pittsburgh is just not the team that they were last year. They had Nathan Peterman at quarterback, and they had old James Conner back there in the backfield. This team is just totally different. Not very good at all. I'm going to take Virginia Tech to cover the spread in Blacksburg.